Alt 92.3.
Hey, it's Kevin Kenny for Radio.com. Ed O'Brien is in the house. He's got a new record out April 17th entitled Earth, which is a very smart day to drop an album because at the stateside, that's 2 days after the tax refund. So you can take your tax refund from Uncle Sam and you can pick up the new record.
What's that, April 15 tax refund day?
Yeah.
That's
I
my
think
birth.
so.
Yeah, that's my birthday.
Is it really?
Yeah, so it's a good day.
Oh, so this
around.
works on a multitude of levels.
It's all planned.
That's awesome.
All perfect.
Not to ask a cliche question to kick things off, but the title Earth, there has to be meaning behind that.
Yeah, it's the Earth, the planet, this beautiful planet that we live on, and it's also the earth in the ground. It's the this album is a musical and emotional response to how I feel living on this planet right now. And the working title was The Pale Blue Dot, which was a Carl Sagan quote, and I felt I wanted it to be about this place and this earth that we walk upon.
Right on.
Yeah.
And you've given us, well, as of this taping that we're doing right here in February, you've given us 3 lead songs. I don't know if you're calling them singles or not, but I actually learned what the word Shangri-La meant because of you.
Did you?
I've heard this for so long.
Yeah.
Mother Love Bone has a song called Shangri-La back in the day.
Yeah.
It sounds so cool, but it's basically like a utopia, like a nirvana?
Like a utopia. And it was supposed to be, wasn't it, like in Tibet or somewhere. It was like Shangri-La, this kind of the lost city of Shangri-La, this utopia. And it's that idea. There's also an area in the Glastonbury Festival called Shangri-La, and it's this idea of, finding your home, finding your people, finding your tribe. That's your utopia.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Right on. It's rare when an artist is as accomplished as you, has done so many things that you can kind of really trace back all the dots to one starting point. But I feel like after reading about your journey, you can with you, Ed, and it really started with walking on the moon.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah.
Would you say that?
Musically, for me, picking up a guitar, certainly. I think that, I love music, and I was sort of grew up on the Beatles and Simon and Garfunkel and all the great music of the 70s. But the moment I became fascinated by how to make that music was hearing the Police's Walking on the Moon. And I think that combination of, that beat, that Copeland beat, obviously the song's great and the bass, but it was the sound of that guitar, Andy Summers' guitar, and the delay and the flanger on it. And it felt to me like, sonically, I was just like, wow, this song is talking about walking on the moon, and it sounds like it's been recorded on the moon. The sounds matched the lyric so well.
You've long held this relationship as a songwriter and as an artist between geography and location and sound and music. Yeah. Do you think that's where it really started?
Yeah, I think for me, I love music. For me, when I'm writing, and something with Radiohead stuff, my favorite Radiohead stuff, and with my own stuff, it's very visual. I feel a location. I can see I can feel where it comes. And that feels really important because that helps you find the right sound for that, because it's almost, so there's a track on the album called Mass. That was a track written about looking, that was how it might feel to be in space, looking down upon this beautiful planet, the Earth. So that informed the sounds. Once I have, it is like providing the soundtrack to what's going on, to the visuals in your head.
Now, would that impact, like, say, Radiohead music videos throughout your career?
Right.
Would you impart those visuals that you had, maybe if you conjured up during the making of a single back in the day?
I wouldn't, because it was, first of all, it was usually Tom's idea usually it was the video director's idea, to be honest. They came up with the ideas, and later on, some of them might have a dialogue with Tom about it, but no, I would never say, actually, I thought of it like this. No. It was my idea. Street Spirit looked like that. No, it wasn't anything to do with me.
So how old are you when you first hear Walking on the Moon? You're like 12, 13, 14?
No, I'm a bit younger. I must have been, that comes out in 79, so I'm 10.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's power. Any music that you cross paths with at that age is just going to be so powerful and mean so much to you. Do you ever, the feeling that you got when you first heard that, or any of your early favorites as a kid, do you ever feel like you wrote a song or you were a part of a song that made you feel that way? Or do you think that feeling has to inherently be external?
Say that again. How do you mean?
Well, in the sense of like, you can probably think of like 5 to 10 songs that just mean the world to you that you discovered as a kid that really are so formative to who you are and your musical taste.
Yeah.
It's such a special feeling that like you or me or anybody watching this right now knows.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you ever created a song of your own that made you feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, on this record, there was certainly in the inspirational phase when you're writing it. Yeah, I mean, I'm like when I'm writing it, I'm like these songs' biggest fans in a way. I was because I feel like you have to be. And with my favorite Radiohead stuff, I felt like I was the biggest fan of these songs. Like I remember. When Tom and Johnny presented like the structure of Weird Fishes on In Rainbows, and I was driving back to London, and each day, and I listened to 8 times in a row, and I came back into the studio. I said, "This is and I won't swear, but this is the best song I've heard in ages." So yeah, and I think you have to have that. That doesn't mean you always feel like that about the song, because then you play that song. So on my album, I had that feeling with a lot of them, but it doesn't stay like that, because you finish it, and then this kind of creative thing happens where you go. So what happens? You finish the record and you're really happy with it. And you go, God, I love this, and then a month or 2 passes, and you go, okay, I'm on to the next one. And actually, it's not as good as I thought, or I can do better. So yeah, you definitely have that thing.
Where does that desire, because you're talking right there, it seems like the desire to improve track by track. Every time you write a song, you want it to make you feel better than the last one did. And I was really struck by the fact that 10 or 11 years ago at this point, you've already accomplished more than you could have probably ever dreamed you would in the world of music. And yet you're frustrated with yourself, I've read, that you don't feel like you're progressing.
Yeah.
Which I find just deeply remarkable, that you would still have that desire to grow in any way, shape, or form that far into your path as a musician.
Well, it's a funny thing, because I know it might sound weird, but I don't walk around thinking like, made some great albums in my life. It's just not like my way. It's just not, it's almost like they were done. That was it. And like, what's now? What's in front of you? And what I'm very thankful for is I'm still very, very hungry for new experiences and new musical experiences. That might not be in 5 years' time. I might not have that. And who knows where that comes from? You don't know where that stuff comes from, because a lot of people, understandably, after 20 years, they kind of take a backseat. And, or they want to do something else. And there's certainly been times on the Radiohead journey when I've thought, do I really want to be doing this now? I don't know. I've been doing this for a while. But there's something about, for me anyway, I find when the music's right, it's utterly compelling. And it's just like, you don't have a choice, and you're so excited by it. And that's what I felt on this record. So I was pulled. I know we all like using bad Star Wars analogies, but it's like the Death Star, the tractor beam on the Death Star, it pulls you. It was like pulling me in. It was just like, okay, I'll surrender to this.
Well, it's not too unlike something I've heard you say about how songs actually already exist. It's the artist's job to sort of tap into that frequency.
I really feel that. That for me was I didn't know how to write songs and lyrics and stuff. And the moment I sort of kind of let go, and it wasn't just a kind of like a mental construct. I was just like, this song feels like it's already written. And then the process of, then you go, because every time you do something, it can be right or it can fit right. And then when it feels right, it's just like it's always been there. So there's a lot of mystery, and there's a lot of magic and about making songs and songwriting, and where does this stuff come from? Because again, for me, it was just like come out my shed in my garden, and like after 5 hours, and I wouldn't know what had happened, but I come out with this thing. And if you ask me how did I get to that point, I've got no idea. But what's interesting, you talk to other writers and stuff, that's exactly the same. We sort of, it comes, we're like conduits. We're like this.
You almost give yourself up in
you give, and it comes through. Or I really believe that, because it's the moment and that's what's so nice about it. It's a very humbling thing, because really it's not me, I did this. It's just like, well, I was in this situation, and it, for whatever reason it came through, and we've got it, and I like it because it's not really it's heart. It's not an ego thing. It's like you're serving this music, if you like.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way of looking at it. You do I have this right? You were 16 years old when you joined the band Radiohead?
It was 1985. So I was, I was 16.
So, I mean, if I'm thinking of myself at 16, I don't know who the hell I am when I'm 16 years old. And you join this band.
Yeah.
How interwoven is that band to your personal identity? Because as you're getting to know yourself, the band's getting to know themselves, and it seems it would be intrinsic.
So I'm exactly the same as you, age 16. I didn't know who the hell I was. The moment we started rehearsing, boom. It's like, this is the most important thing in my life. Bang. Like, we weren't good. We were shit, but there was this thing, and it was suddenly everything went into focus. Everything was out of focus. It's like 16 years old, right? Yeah. And then bang. And again, it was like, it became and then it becomes a huge part of your character, because, at that age, inevitably, you have a few challenging moments, or a girl dumps you or whatever, all those massive things, because you're living life as a teenager. It's all new. You're stepping into the adult world. It's quite raw. You have highs, but you also have real lows. But what was great about the band was, like, didn't matter how low those lows were. They weren't low because I had my brothers and I had this music and this band I was in. And I think for all of us, it gave us huge strength. We were like this little club, this little, unlikely club, because we're all very different people, but it gave us such strength and such purpose at an age where you don't have a lot of purpose.
So is it scary to you to think, even at this point in your life, if that goes away entirely one day?
No.
So then I'm so fascinated by this. It's beautiful, the camaraderie you had and the community you had growing up at such a young age and then throughout your life. But how do you develop a sense of self amongst that?
Because, you have to, and it's a good question. And what happens is you have families, you have kids, and, your kids don't give a shit about you being in Radiohead. That's normal to them. No, you don't define yourself, and that's a process, and that's what you're talking about is a very, very interesting process, and it's something that you have to go through, because, the band is by definition a club. It's like a gang, and you can't stay in the gang forever. You can't do that. You can't emotionally stay in that. You can be but a gang changes, and also a gang hangs out less with one another when you have families. Your family become your gang. And in order to be a good father, you have to stand upon your own 2 feet. So my viewing on the whole thing is like, I'm not defined by Radiohead. Radiohead's a massive blessing in my life, and it's an amazing part, but if it were to not be there tomorrow, sure, I'd be, sad, but I wouldn't go to pieces. It'd be like, well, I don't think you can be scared of these things. It's almost like you can't be scared of families splitting up if they do split up. It happens, stuff happens, and you just, you do your best.
Yeah. I guess along those lines, what makes this new album, Earth, that we're going to get on April 17th, inherently EOB or Ed O'Brien songs? Why are they not Radiohead songs?
Because they have a different kind of energy. They come from my point of view, where I'm looking upon the planet. They've had roots in, me and my family living in Brazil, experiencing life out there, carnival rhythms. This album is my response to living during these times, and there's no doubt that we're living in very, very challenging times. We're in a climate emergency, and the divisions that are coming about between people. You see it in your country, we see it in my country, we're seeing it all over the world. These huge kind of chasms and people standing on other side. And this is my emotional response and musical response. And what I was trying to do, I was trying to you know, it is hard, it is challenging, but I was also trying to look for the moments of light and positivity, because there are plenty of those. The kindness of strangers to one another, the kindness of people, but that stuff doesn't get much notice. And that for me was, in the writing of the album, the moment I read, when I was demoing and writing, I read Walt Whitman, Leaves of Grass, which is obviously one of your greatest books over here. And his perspective really, like, you know, it's an extraordinary book about looking at all sides of life and seeing the beauty in it. And that's what I was trying to do, see the beauty in the darkness that we have here. We live on this extraordinary planet, and we've taken her for granted, and, you know, for since the Industrial Revolution. So I was trying to, you know, reconnect with the beauty that is inherently here on the planet, but also amongst human beings.
Right. An attempt to find the light in the darkness, you'd say?
Yeah, totally. Because we're living through very dark times, and it's seemingly been like this for quite a while now. But I'm trying to find, you know, I feel it's important to find the light and to give that notice as well. Because if we're always fed stories about how shit we are to one another, that's what we think. But it's not true. You know, I'm sure your experience of walking through, you know, on a daily basis, strangers can be really kind, right? And those things are valid. Those things are important. So, you know, the themes of community, people coming together, the beauty of our planet was really, really important, as well as the darkness, you know.
Yeah. It almost sounds like the songs we'll get on the new album were too personal to share with a larger body of group or what have you.
Yeah, I think also that I didn't want to have, you know, I think inevitably what happens in a band is that, you know, stuff gets diluted, you know, the original vision, and I think that, you know, Tom's done, you know, amazingly well into, you know, taking on all our inputs and stuff like that. But my one, I kind of felt like it needed a singular vision, and I was driving it through, and I needed to bring the musicians who I thought was appropriate to bolt on and get them on board.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just in closing here, what are you most proud of with this album? Looking back now that it's done, it's about to go out into the world.
I think finishing it, because there are so many points along the way where I could have just given up. I could have given up, but the fact that I finished and got through, and to do it as well in a way that for me, it was really important to make a record that, you know, recording studios can be quite harsh environments, and I wanted it to be a place of kindness, but of truth. So I think we did it, you know, we got there, and I'm really happy with the record we made, and it never got nasty. And I think that's what I'm really proud of.
That's awesome. Thanks
Cheers,
so much, man.
Kevin.
Yeah,
Thanks,
pleasure.
Man.